Allegations surfaced regarding AEW star Chris Jericho and former AEW wrestler Kylie Rae regarding possible allegations of misconduct by Jericho, a possible NDA, and rumors of a cover-up from All Elite Wrestling. Plus, AEW President Tony Khan has indirectly commented on the matter during last night's AEW World's End post-show media scrum. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. Apologies for the lack of content over the last couple of days. As you would have seen on my community post, I've been struck down by the norovirus in recent days. Still not feeling too great, but wanted to get you some content today. So we've got to talk about, obviously, these allegations regarding Chris Jericho and Kylie Rae. We are going to be doing a video later today as well, going through all of the news and happenings regarding Kevin Dunn leaving WWE, Andrade possibly leaving AEW, and all of the fallout from AEW World's End involving the Devil, etc., etc., etc. So that's going to be coming later today. But what I wanted to focus on in this video was the big story from yesterday that really bled over into World's End and into this morning regarding Chris Jericho and allegations that have surfaced regarding the former AEW World Champion. Now, of course, Chris Jericho is a legendary professional wrestler, and he was responsible for much of AEW's early rise in popularity. Yesterday, on the day of AEW World's End, a troubling allegation dropped out about him that could paint him in an entirely different light. Now, recently, Chris Jericho and CM Punk and Ace Steel's attorney, Stephen P. New, had it out on social media. Now, this whole ordeal surrounded the non-disclosure agreements that everyone involved in Brawlout had signed. Now, if you recall, Chris Jericho claimed that he never signed an NDA. We can actually get this up on the screen right now. It was a back and forth on Christmas Day where Chris Jericho, in response to Stephen P. New, said, quote, "Hey, Stephen P. New, I don't adhere to an employee handbook and have never had one in 4 years of working for AEW. I've also never signed an NDA in my life, ever, so stop trying to be a bully and making egotistical fancy brags for your clients and start doing some research," he carried on. But really what caught a lot of people's eye when it came to Jericho's tweet on Christmas Day was a response from House of Wrestling's Nick Houseman, because he later called Chris Jericho out for having people sign NDAs himself. We can see the tweet on the screen right now. It says, "What about the NDAs you make other people sign?" Now, a lot of people were wondering what Nick Houseman meant by this. Now, actually, he later had Stephen P. New on his Rumour and Innuendo podcast for an interview about everything that was going on with that situation. Then a clip of Nick Houseman from that Rumour and Innuendo podcast went viral. Now, in this clip, Houseman made mention of skeletons in Chris Jericho's closet. He also brought up Harvey Weinstein's name into the situation in a comparison to Chris Jericho and this situation. Here's what Houseman had to say.
Obviously, the Jericho part of it, for a lot of reasons, stood out to me. One of the things that, is so disconcerting to me about kind of the universal praise of Jericho, and I'm not going to deny the points that Max made about, the impact Chris had in the early days of AEW. But when you have that kind of clout and you have that kind of power, it's very important to use that responsibly. And I just, there are issues with Chris behind the scenes where I know of a lot of people who have been hurt by Chris and his actions. And, it's very uncomfortable to me to see him lauded as often as he is, with only the focus on that, because I do think that there's a lot of questionable stories about Chris that will find their way out over time. And when people are ready to tell those stories, that will cast him in a very different light. I mean, look, Harvey Weinstein won a lot of Oscars. Harvey Weinstein produced a lot of very popular films. Harvey Weinstein is now in jail. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Chris, but your narrative can very quickly turn if you're hiding a lot of skeletons in your closet.
Now, this got a lot of people talking regarding what is he really talking about here, Nick Houseman. He's talking about skeletons in the closet. What is he referring to? Now, if we go back to the tweets in question, as I mentioned, Nick Houseman posted that on Christmas Day, but really was this thread yesterday by ISO Wrestling, at iTalk Wrestling on Twitter, that really opened up a lot of people's eyes to possibly putting two and two together, allegedly, when it came to this situation. So they shared this tweet, and it said, "Pure speculation, but he might be referring to Kylie Rae," he being Nick Houseman, and posted a screen grab of this post, which looks to be on Facebook, saying, quote, "So here's the deal. You don't quit the hottest fed going today, brackets AEW, without reason. I have it from people in the know that Kylie was asked to go to Chris Jericho's room with the understanding that others would be there. When she got there, it was just him. He made a pass at her, no other details are given, and she freaked out." Now, in addition to this, ISO Wrestling then posted, there's history with this accused behavior, by the way, sharing a screen grab from the Squared Circle thread on Reddit, saying, original accuser of David Starr, implying there are potential accusations against Chris Jericho. David Starr, of course, was caught up in the speaking out movement that happened back in 2019, 2020 as well, in which multiple allegations and instances of misconduct and allegations were raised against plenty of wrestlers within the industry, a really black eye for the industry at that time. Now, this original accuser of David Starr posted this in June of 2020 saying, quote, sometimes I stop to wonder how many young women are out there are wondering if it's safe to post about Chris Jericho yet. Now, with all of this going on, people could just say, well, at the time, it's just social media chatter. You have to be careful with lots of these things. They're allegations. You have to say that it's alleged behavior, etc., etc. But then what really got a lot of people talking regarding this thread in question was a response from one of the principal parties allegedly involved, that being Kylie Rae, the former AEW wrestler. She since responded to this thread with a love heart. Now, lots of people are assuming that if she was under an NDA or something like that, this would be an instance whereby she couldn't actually publicly comment on the matter and couldn't give any details on the matter, but some are perceiving the love heart emoji as a sign that yes, all of this is true. Now, the allegations don't actually stop there because seemingly they go back as far as 2019. Now, a lot of people have spoken about this and pointed this out on social media over the last 24 to 48 hours as well. There is a CM Punk tweet back in November 18 of 2019. It was actually just at the time in which he had recently returned to kind of WWE television at the time. He was on WWE Backstage on FS1 and he posted a tweet about trying to catch up with everything that had happened since he had left WWE back in 2014. And he said, quote, it is weird trying to catch up on 5+ years of wrestling. I'm doing what I can. There's bright spots, mostly women from what I can tell. There's bad too. I'm going to talk about it and no one is safe. Join us. And then spoke about Renee Young and WWE on Fox, Booker T, Paige, even Vince McMahon, and also Tony Khan, which is quite interesting that he atted him at the time. Now, Tony Khan then responded, referencing the debacle that happened regarding WWE superstars in Saudi Arabia coming back from Crown Jewel in 2019, where they were stuck at an airport, possibly held there, allegedly, by the Saudi Arabian government. It's a crazy story. And Tony Khan then responded by saying, no one is safe, sounds like a plane full of wrestlers in Saudi Arabia. Now, at the time, people just thought, oh, it's interesting. Tony Khan going back to CM Punk. What does this mean? Taking shots at WWE. But a one-off response from an account called John A. Ferris, John A. Ferris 1, in fact, posted this, which is quite interesting because it would have fit the timeline of the alleged incident back in 2019, saying, quote, letting your drunk wrestler Jimmy Havoc beat up one of your commentators at a restaurant and letting him go scot-free. I think they're referring to an alleged incident involving Jimmy Havoc and Excalibur back in 2019, and Kylie Rae getting sexual advances from Jericho. Wow, imagine if that came out to be true. TNT instant cancellation, AEW Dynamite. Now, people at the time just thought it's just someone on social media saying these wild rumors that's got no real substance to it. But obviously now these allegations, 5 years later seemingly, coming back to light, a lot of people are wondering, hey, was there something to what this guy was saying at the time? Did he know something that other people didn't know around that period of time? So people were asking him about this, saying, how deep are we getting into this Chris Jericho allegations? Bet Jericho is regretting tweeting at 4 a.m. on Christmas night, downfall of Jericho. And John A. Ferris, once again, kind of expanded on, I guess, what he had heard about the alleged incident at the time, saying, quote, she was invited into Chris Jericho's locker room, thinking that there was other people there, and he tried to make his advances, and she went straight to Tony, and he was afraid that he would lose the TV deal because Chris Jericho was his only star at that time. NDA to be released. Now, I think what John A. Ferris is referring to here is that Kylie Rae, of course, was released by AEW back in 2019, and he is alleging that she signed an NDA in order to be released from the company. Now, lots of people are pointing out what Tony Khan said regarding Kylie Rae back in 2019. She was actually brought up at a post-show media scrum. I believe this is the All Out in 2019, and was asked by Sean Ross Sapp, what's going on with Kylie Rae? We haven't really heard from her or seen her recently, so is she still with the company? And at the time, back in 2019, here are Tony Khan's comments.
Any update on the status of Kylie Rae? She's been a little bit absent lately.
She's no longer with us. We had so many things going into, so many announcements going into that role, but she asked for a release and we granted it. So she called me and asked if she could be released from her contract, and it was pretty simple. I said yeah, and I asked her if everything was okay, and she said yeah. She, she's didn't want to be with the company anymore, and we talked about it, and it was very simple. And so yeah, she's not on our roster.
Seem amicable?
Super amicable. Okay. She's a very nice person.
So going into World's End last night, obviously lots of people were talking about this and lots of people wondering if Chris Jericho was even going to be featured on the show. Was he going to be involved? Was he going to be pulled from the show? Was he going to be suspended? Was there going to be an investigation into all of this? And well, of course, Jericho did compete on the show last night. And as of right now, he's not been suspended. We don't know about any internal investigation or anything like that. But as one could expect from the fans on Long Island in New York at the Nassau Coliseum last night, certainly they let their feelings known. You could see here, there is a sign in the crowd saying Jericho away, World's NDA, and actually we've got a video here of really some of the sentiment towards Chris Jericho inside the building last night at World's End. Take a look at this. Now, with everything going on last night, people were maybe even looking forward to more the post-show media scrum that involved Tony Khan, because naturally there were going to be several questions regarding AEW's stance on the allegations, if there had been any NDA signed, if there was going to be an investigation, if Chris Jericho was going to be suspended, what really was the company's stance and what was AEW's stance and what was Tony Khan's stance going to be on the matter. Well, Tony Khan was asked about the allegations not once but twice, but actually 3 times during the post-show presser, and here are Tony Khan's comments.
Of his tenure in AEW, I can't speak to internet and unsourced rumors. I think I spoke earlier to Kevin and mentioned the policy we have in place and the disciplinary process. We've always followed that, and I believe AEW is the safest wrestling company in the world, and we have the best track record for safety, and I would hold it up to anybody, and anytime anybody has any kind of complaint, they have an open door again to say it to me or to anyone in the office, and we would look into it.
Now, you just saw some of the comments there from AEW President Tony Khan. Now, another part of the press conference we can't actually show you for copyright reasons because obviously AEW's blocked it here on YouTube. But Kevin from Pro Wrestling Illustrated had asked earlier in the scrum regarding speculation and concern about wrestlers' safety in the workplace and asked Tony Khan what has been done to prevent sexual harassment in the AEW locker room. And Tony Khan said, quote, "I think it applies to women and men and is something we're really serious about," Khan said. "We've had a policy in place. I think any time where there's been something like that, we would do everything we can to prevent it." He continued by saying, certainly if there was anything that came to light to me, I would take it to the disciplinary committee," he continued. "I think our disciplinary committee has been doing a great job, and everybody knows they have an open line to me or anybody on that committee." Again, this discussion came after Nick Houseman of House of Wrestling recently made reference to allegations regarding issues with Chris Jericho behind the scenes, comparing him to former film producer Harvey Weinstein, who is currently in jail after being found guilty for numerous sexual offences. So again, that was Tony Khan's comments from the press conference, and certainly a lot of people talking regarding his appearance there. Actually, if you can see the sunglasses and hat he's wearing, because it was just after a part of the presser where he was sat next to Timeless Tony Storm. But lots of people have criticised Khan for not only the way he addressed the allegations, but also the attire that he was wearing, saying that this wasn't suitable given the subject matter and certainly given the severity and seriousness of the situation. But what are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts on the allegations? What are your thoughts on the surfacing of these allegations? What are your thoughts on how they've surfaced themselves as well? What are your thoughts on everything, this entire situation? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.